Again, Kevin Coe from Supermicro. Today's video clip is going to focus on integration of SuperCloud Composer with Microsoft's Active Directory service. So the Active Directory service would typically reside on a domain controller on an enterprise network. And in previous base kits, we released role-based access control and users that were part of the architecture of SuperCloud Composer. They were stored within SCC. Realistically, that doesn't scale, and we got quite a bit of feedback back from enterprise customers that they wanted an area where they could commonly control, manage assets or servers or computers within a network based on the enterprise, right? And being able to control access to these servers through a common service such as Microsoft Active Directory. There are other security tools that are also gaining traction in the industry, such as Open LDAP and Keycloak, which is an identity provider for single sign-on. And you'll see in subsequent videos, we'll talk about how we integrate SCC to Open LDAP and also to Keycloak implementation or integration. So before we get started with reviewing the environment, I really want to talk about this notion of, or this initiative we have of really improving on our security for a management platform such as SCC. And it really has to do with supporting compliance and governance within a data center and the idea of the need to know. And we talked about that in the previous video, the importance of compliance and governance in other videos, as well as being able to provide a hardened security portfolio within our platform to resonate with DevOps administrators in the enterprise. So I'd like to review the AD environment that we have set up. So we got quite a bit of feedback back from the community that are listening to these videos. They wanted to reduce the time or the content within videos into very simple, limited vignettes of really they could click on and really be able to determine information or be able to set up how a specific use case would resonate with them. Instead of me rambling for hours on a podcast, giving you information about features that you may not even be interested in, right? So that's important here. We've taken your feedback and we've also created a video up front. And by clicking on the video, we can stop it and then talk about various important aspects of configuration or that video so that you have a good understanding of the content and what you're trying to get from the videos themselves. So let's review the AD environment first. So we have this domain controller or Active Directory service residing on host IP address 10.188.139.232. And we have a realm set up on that domain controller of dev.example.com or that Active Directory server. And then we also open up ports to be able to communicate with that Active Directory service. So if you're creating a secure connection between your Active Directory and also SCC, we have to open up port 636. We'll show you how to upload a certificate, why that's important. We don't want folks spoofing the wire and looking at data that's being transported between the Active Directory service and also SCC. So we'll show you how to load a certificate, a CA. And then we'll also show you various different users we set up and how we mapped those users to role-based access control on SCC and how those actually get data mapped to groups within the active realm domain. And then we'll test those connections And you'll see from menu options differences in menus. And we talked about the need to know, right, of just exposing important metadata for that particular user, right? And only them being able to say certain information within the platform itself. And that will certainly support the initiative we're doing based on compliance and governance. So we'll roll the video here and we'll periodically stop it and talk about the importance of parameters we set within the Active Directory itself. So let's go ahead and roll the camera. So we're reviewing the environment here, and you'll see here that there's a global setting that we have to enable. That global setting is AD is set for disabled by default. So we have to enable that global setting to be able to start the creation of the Active Directory domain. You'll see a list of the Active Directories we actually set up here. And those Active Directory settings are in our Microsoft Active Directory list. And we're going to start the creation of the newly created directory domain. So the AD domain we're utilizing is dev.examples.com that we set up on the domain controller of the Active Directory service. You'll see differences between a simple bind method and a regular bind method by hovering over the tooltip. You can see the differences. You'll notice there to the right, the enable status is enabled. So we're good to go. And we'll continue on for the GUI wizard and set up the SSL setting. By default, it is disabled, so you'll have to toggle it. And then at that point, we create the certificate, CA certificate outside of SCC, and then we utilize that certificate to upload into SCC to be utilized between the handshake between the Active Directory service and also SCC. Then we'll provide the Active Directory host, 10.xxxx, and then also the port with being 636 for secure certificate transportation or transport. We'll also turn on our group filters, which basically sets the relationship between the Active Directory domain settings and also our user role permissions, which we call our role-based access control within SCC. So we're setting up that relationship or data mapping between Active Directory service and also SCC. And then we'll define those users to those groups, right, within SCC. So we set the data mapping appropriately. We'll make sure that each of those filter statuses are enabled. Make sure they're enabled. Don't disable them. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to provide that relationship. And then you'll see here, we confirm the detail, we review it, and then we submit it to the back end of SCC and create the configuration within our GUI. And so once that's created, you'll see here that it shows up in the Microsoft Active Directory list. In the next videos, we'll actually show you if you need to make modifications or edit those Active Directory service settings. You can do so through the edit function in the next video. And then we'll go test each of these users, Gina and Jay, show how they're connected, and then how we're going to authenticate to the Active Directory service. And then at that point, you'll see the menu options change on the left-hand side, and we'll point those out. Okay, that completes the creation of the Active Directory service. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.